everyone, welcome back to my class. This is Rumana Ali. I hope you all are doing well. In today's class, let us start a lesson. What do animals eat? So in this lesson, we are going to discuss about the different animals and their mode by which they eat their food. Have you ever seen a dog sniffing at the different things? That means the dog sniff at a ball or a biscuit. So by sniffing, it can identify whether the food is eatable or it is not eatable. If the dog finds that the things are eatable, for example, if it sniffs flesh or if it sniffs biscuits, then it finds that these things are eatable and it eats. But when the dog sniffs at ball, when it sniffs at some toys, then it finds that these things are not eatable. It identifies that these things are not eatable and it leaves that things. In this way, dogs can identify whether the food is eatable or non-eatable by sniffing. Let us take the other example, that is hens. So, hens are also the animals that can identify their foods by seeing, and they peck out the grains and also the other small insects. So, they feed on grains and the small insects. How do they identify that these grains and small insects are present? They use their legs, they scratch the ground and they see the grains or the insects that are present in the soil, and they peck out that grains or the insects that are present in the soil. In this way, the animals identify their food by the ability that possessed by these different animals. We know that different animals eat different food. Based on the food they eat, the animals are classified into three main types, and they are herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. Herbivores are the animals that eat only plants. So, the animals that eat only plants or grass, they are termed as herbivorous animals. And here we can take an example of goat, giraffe, etc. The next one is carnivores. These are the animals that feeds on the flesh of other animals. So, the animals that eats only the flesh of the other animals, that type of animals are termed as carnivorous animals. Examples are fox, wolf, lion, tiger and many more. The next one is omnivores. Omnivores are the animals that feeds on both plants as well as the flesh of other ones. So, the animals that feeds on both plants as well as the flesh of the other animals, these kind of animals are termed as omnivorous animals. And in this type, we can take an example of man. Man is an omnivorous animal because we eat both the things. That means we eat fruits and vegetables that we get from the plants, and we eat meat, beef that we get from the animals, that is the flesh of the other animals. In such a way, man can be taken as an example of omnivorous animal, and the other example that we can take in this type is rat, and even the hen is also an omnivorous animal. In this way, based on the food they eat, they are classified into three main types, that are herbivores, carnivores and omnivores. We all know that plants and animals, both of them depend upon the other plants and animals for their food. So, this dependency makes the food chain that we are going to discuss in few minutes about the food chain. So, we know that every animal and plant depends upon the other things to prepare their food or to get their food. And the different animals, they use their senses to identify their food material. So, what are the senses that they use? They can use their eyes for seeing the food, they can use their ears for hearing, they can use the tongue for tasting and skin for touching and nose for smelling. So, these are the 5 senses that has been used by the different animals to get their food. Let us take some examples of animals that uses these different senses. So, when we take an example of vulture, vulture is a bird that can identify its food material through a sense called seeing. So, by seeing, the vulture can identify or the vulture can take its prey. Prey is nothing but food. The food can be captured by the vulture by their sense of seeing. The next one is bat. Bat is an animal that uses the sense of hearing to get its food, and dog is an animal that uses the sense of smelling to get its prey. Pond skater is an insect that feeds on the other insect. So here it is using its sense of touching to get its food. And one more example we'll take here, that is snake. So snake is an animal, it uses the sense of taste and it identifies its food. So here all the 5 senses can be seen. So these are the different senses that can be used by the different animals. Vulture is using the sense of seeing, bat is using the sense of hearing, and smelling is a sense that is used by the dog. Touching is a sense that is used by the pond skater, and tasting is a sense that is used by the snake to identify its food. In this way, the different animals uses the different senses to get its food. Finding food is one thing, but collecting, grabbing and eating that food material is another task. So to complete this task also, they uses the different body parts. The specialized body parts are present in the different animals that are helping the animals to collect the food and to eat them. For example, hands, feet, beaks of the animals. These are the specialized body parts that are present in the different animals that helps the animals to collect their food material. Let us take some examples here again. So hen uses its beak to eat grains and worms that are present in the soil. Dog uses its legs and mouth part to collect its food and to eat it. And hummingbird is a bird which possesses beak. So beak of the hummingbird helps it to collect the food and to suck the nectar from the flower. So nectar is the food that is needed by the hummingbird. So to suck the nectar from the flowers, the beak of the hummingbird helps it to collect and to eat the food. In this way, the different animals shows the presence of different specialized body parts, and these body parts of the different animals helps them to collect and to eat the different food items. So the different animals eat the different types of food. So the different birds also eat different kinds of food. Based on their food product or based on their prey, they are having the different kinds of beak. So let us learn about the different types of beak that can be seen in the different types of birds. So the first one is sparrow and pigeon. These are the birds that has strong and short beak. So the strong and short beak of the sparrow and pigeon helps them to eat worms and grains. Eagle is a bird and it has strong and hooked beak. This strong and hooked beak of eagle helps the eagle to tear the flesh. So by having the strong and hooked beak only, the eagle can easily tear the flesh and it can eat it. Duck is a bird which has wide beak. So the wide beak of the duck helps it to eat the fishes easily. It can swallow the fishes easily because of the presence of wide beak. The long and strong beak is present in the woodpecker. So this type of beak helps the woodpecker to remove the layers of the bark, because below the layer of the bark ants and pests are present. So the woodpecker is a bird that feeds on ants or pests. In this way, long and strong beak of the woodpecker helps it to get the prey by removing the layer of bark. Next one is crane. Crane is a bird and it has a long beak. The long beak of the crane helps it to catch the fishes easily. The hooked beak is present in vultures and parrots, and because of the presence of hooked beak, the parrots can easily eat the fruits and they can crack nuts, and vulture is a bird that feeds on the flesh. So the hooked beak of the vulture helps it to tear the flesh. Hummingbird is a bird which has long and thin beak. So this long and thin beak of the hummingbird helps it to suck the nectar from the flowers. The last one is crow. Crow has strong and sharp beak, and the beak of the crow helps it to eat waste and rotten food material. The crow, they usually feed on waste and rotten material that are present in our surrounding. So this beak, this type of beak that is present in the crows helps them to eat these waste materials and rotten materials easily. As they are eating waste material, so ultimately the environment is getting clean. So as the crows are helping in cleaning the environment, they are called as natural scavengers. So this is about the different types of beak that are present or that can be seen in the different birds, and these different beaks helps the different birds to get its prey and to eat the food. So the amphibians like frogs, they throw their tongue or they stuck out their tongue on which the different insects sticks. So the frogs, they stuck out their tongue on which the insects get sticked, and these insects are swallowed by the frogs. In the similar manner, the different animals also get its food. For example, lizard, chameleon and others. These are the different animals that stuck out their tongue, which is very sticky, on which the different insects can easily stick. So after the insect sticks over their tongue, they take back their tongue into its mouth and the insect can be swallowed up by these different animals. The next mode of eating food is shown by the cows and buffaloes. Cows are the animals that can eat the different plants and grasses. So they chew the food very quickly and swallow it. When they swallow this food which is not properly chewed, that food is going to be stored in a part of its stomach. So in the animals like cows, a part is present in the stomach where they can store this unchewed food. But when they get the leisure time, they bring back the food from the stomach into their mouth and they start chewing it again. So when they chew it well, they again swallow that food and that food can be easily digested. In such a way, when they are bringing back their food from the stomach into the mouth and chewing it again, so the animals that are showing this kind of thing, that means when they are bringing their food back from the stomach into the mouth, again they are chewing it. So these kind of animals are called as ruminants. And dogs are the animals where we can find the presence of sharp teeth and tongue. So these are the mouth parts that are present in the dog, and these are the different parts that helps the dog to get its food. That means to tear the flesh and to eat the flesh. Here one question arises, and that is, why do wild animals have sharp teeth? So wild animals are the animals that get their food by hunting. They have to hunt the other animals to get or to catch their prey. So for hunting, they have long legs, and because of the presence of these kind of legs, they can run very fast. They are having sharp claws to catch the prey, and even they are having sharp teeth to eat that food. So in this way, the wild animals are the animals that get their food by hunting. So they are having long legs to run and to catch their prey. For catching, they are having sharp claws, and for eating that prey, that means to tear the flesh of that animal, they are having sharp teeth. These are the different body parts that has been shown by the wild animals like tiger, lion and cheetah, etc. Rabbits and the squirrels are also the different animals, and these animals are also having sharp teeth. They use their sharp teeth to tear fruits, to tear the tubers, leaves of the different plants. So in such a way, they can be able to get their food with the help of their sharp teeth. And even the dogs and cats, they are also having sharp teeth, and they use their sharp teeth to tear the flesh. In such a way, apart from the wild animals, the different animals like rabbits, squirrels, dogs and cats also shows the presence of sharp teeth, and they use their sharp teeth to get and to catch their food. Ducks also have teeth, but they do not use their teeth for grinding purpose, but they use their teeth as their filters. The teeth of the duck acts as a filter and they filter the food that is present in the water. That means the water can be separated out and the fish that is catched by the duck can be easily swallowed because of the presence of the teeth in the duck. Leeches are the insects, or we can call them as suckers, because leeches shows the different thing when compared to the other animals. They usually sits on the body surfaces of cows and the humans and they suck the blood. So, leeches, they are having some special organs and that special organs are called as suckers. Because of the presence of suckers, they can easily sit on the skin of the cattle as well as humans, and by sitting they can easily suck the bloods of the different animals and also the blood of a human. So, in this way they feed on the blood of human and cattle. Some animals like cockroaches, moths, crickets and others. So, these insects, they search for the food at night. During night time only they will get the food, because during daytime they will be hiding themselves at some places and they do not come out during daytime. They will come out, search for the food and get the food only during night time. So, these kind of insects can be termed as nocturnals. Nocturnals are nothing but the insects that search and get their food at night. So, in such a way the different body features can be seen in the different animals, and that specialized body structures and that specialized body parts of the different animals helps them to catch their prey and to eat that food. Let us talk about the topic food chain. As the different organisms are dependent on the different plants and animals, they are going to make up a chain and that chain is called as the food chain. So, here we will take one example to understand about the food chain. Crane feeds on fishes and fishes feeds on the larva, and larva depends upon the aquatic plants. So, aquatic plants are eaten up by the larva, larva are eaten up by the fishes and fishes are eaten up by the crane. In such a way a chain is formed. That means one organism is depending upon the other organism and this is called as food chain. But here the food chain can show the presence of different animals. One organism can depend on the other two different organisms. For example, aquatic plants are eaten up by the larva, then larvae are eaten up by the frogs and frogs can eaten up by the cranes. So, crane is one animal, but it can feed on fishes as well as on the frogs. So, one organism can depend on more than one source of food, and because of which the different food chains can make up and it can form a food web. If the number of food chains are connected with each other, then that type of web is called as food web. But we know because of the growing population, the farmers, they are using different kinds of insecticides and pesticides in their farms or in their fields. When the different insects and pests are feeding on these insecticides and pesticides, or when they are sprayed by these insecticides or pesticides, they become poisoned. Now, when these poison insects or pests are eaten up by the fishes or by the different animals, then these would also get affected. They cannot feed on poison insects or pests. In this way, the whole food chain is getting disturbed, because of which the sufficient amount of the food will not be available for the higher level of organisms, and in this way imbalances can be seen in our nature. So, if we reduce the usage of insecticides and pesticides, we can maintain all the food chains in the nature and we can also balance the ecosystems. Some of the animals, they live in colonies such as ants, elephants and honeybees. These are the different animals that live in colonies. They show well social interaction among them. So, the social interaction, they can communicate with each other easily. So, the first example is ants. When we see the colony of an ant, we can find the presence of worker ant, male ant and female ants. Worker ants always engage in the different works. That means they collect the food and they store the food for the future purpose. Besides ants, black flies, which are called as aphids, they are also present in colonies. They also live in colonies. How we keep the cows for milk? Likewise, the ants also keeps the aphids to get honeydew. And ants are called as good farmers because they cut the leaves, and with the help of these leaves they make a bed on which the fungus can be grown, and this is the fungus where they can easily feed on them. Ants can be easily feed on this fungus in such a way they can grow their own food. So we can call the ants as the good farmers. Elephants are also present in group of elephants are called as herd. The group of elephants can be termed as herd. And honeybee, they also live in colonies. Honeybees, they suck the nectar from the different flowers. That nectar is mixed up with the saliva of the honeybees. In result, we can get honey. So this honey is stored by the honeybees in the beehives, and they also present in the colonies. In such a way, the animals like ants, elephants and honeybees, they usually found in colonies. So here the lesson, what do animals eat ends. That's all for today. Meet you next class. Thank you.